Do you or a loved one struggle with life issues, like overcoming mental illness, addiction, and navigating relationships? Join Promises to Freedom. Each week, Kat and Cord will be joined by special guests to discuss and share provocative, informative, science-based, and spiritually proven methods that may help you find your promise to freedom. So tune in Saturday mornings, Promises to Freedom, brought to you by Zion Healing. The Promises to Freedom Show. A journey to full recovery with Cord Beatty and Kat Hart.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're listening in.
Good morning. Good afternoon, yes.
You've got the Kat and Cord and Tank show today. And for those of you that aren't tuning in via video, Tank is a 140-pound, maybe Central Asian Ovcharka or Shepherd.
We call him Think Tank.
That's right. That's right. So today's show, we're going to be talking about...
We're going to get into a discussion about the STAR-D study. It was also known as Sequenced Treatment Alternatives and Relief Depression Study. Quite a mouthful. It was a landmark study and research project that was aimed to identify the most effective treatment options for individuals around the country that are suffering from depression. In our studio today, we have a guest, Jimmy Gilland.
That's correct. Jimmy is our first franchisee with Zion Healing Center up in Murray, Utah. For those of you that don't know where Murray, Utah is, I didn't either. Being a
Salt Lake City, we just say Salt Lake City. That's pretty much
perfect. Salt Lake
and the address on that location:
310 East, 4500 South.
310 East. That's so confusing. 310 East, 4500 South.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it right.
Suite 650. Yeah, it's on the 6th floor, 650. Yep.
Oh, do they have to walk up the stairs?
They get an elevator. Oh. We have a nice one. We even have a lake out in front of it with ducks.
You know, that's a nice building. It's a really beautiful building.
Ducks.
So bring duck food. Don't bring loaves of bread or anything.
The lake is frozen over and there's ducks swimming on the part that's not frozen right now. I don't know how they do it.
That's awesome. So Jimmy's background, actually, Jimmy's a serial entrepreneur. If you're going to be serial anything, it'd be an entrepreneur. Jimmy owns a company called Tricked Out Accessories, which is cell phone accessories, right? And you've got 18, 19 locations?
Yeah,
Utah,
spread out
and
Hawaii. Yep.
Very cool. Yeah. Aloha.
How many years has Tricked Out been around?
20 years now.
20 years. Yeah. I remember when you first started. I can remember that at the Fashion Place Mall.
Yeah, I met you there one time, I think.
Yeah, I met you there, and it's probably been close to 20 years ago when I first met you over there. Yeah.
Giving up your age.
Yeah. We were doing teeth whitening in the mall under a brand called Dazzling Bright. It was a franchise. It was our first foray into franchising, and I had met you there, and I was always really impressed with Tricked Out because everything you did was like first class.
Still is.
Still is.
Yeah, very much so. But Jimmy's interest in Zion Healing Center, I'm going to let Jimmy actually tell his story and his interest in Zion Healing and how you sort of came to.
Yeah, I mean, selling accessories and phone repairs is cool, but I really, at some point I was like, I like to sell. I love working with people and I love to inspire people. I was kind of studying a lot of personal development for myself and for my team, but I really was like, gosh, what if I could sell something that really matters? I just kind of felt like it was, it would be a good time for a change. And I started, and I had gone through a lot of healing myself. We can get into that if you want, but I went through my own ups and downs, including a divorce, which came with kind of an opiate addiction. And, I went through, I'd been successful. I mean, I almost crashed to the bottom, almost lost everything, but I did manage to recover and rebuild up the company at a time that when I was going through a lot. And so, through the healing that I went through and a lot of the just, years of coaching and counseling and trying all kinds of things because depression medication had failed me too. So I'm one of these, like, we're going to talk about this study.
Product of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's, since even being a kid, I was put on ADD medication. It made me feel horrible. And there was always like, what's wrong with this kid? What's wrong? Put him in, let's try a different medication. But I just did not like taking those. I had really bad side effects. And so I tried everything else and really found a lot of success with things like hypnotherapy, NLP. And so I thought, gosh, how can I use some of this to really help more people? Because I feel like I was helping my small team and I was talking to people that, my friends and helping, but I knew that I had something, I knew that I was good at communicating and I just really felt drawn to some type of healing I knew that, I was literally, so I felt guided. If you, this is interesting. I was meditating. I believe in manifestation. And I was sitting out meditating a lot of times, and I knew that I was going to start a healing center. And those words were definitely in it. I was like, what kind of healing center is this going to be? And I would try to envision it, and I would just see people coming through and getting healed. And that's the, most blurry picture that it came to me at the time. I was looking also to make a change because during COVID, really it was rough on retail, and I was getting, so my profitability went way down, especially with the malls locking down everything, and,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
it was hard. And so I started thinking, well, there might be another business I could do, and I've been thinking about it for years, honestly. But healing center, looking to possibly, I thought, what would we, I'm not even ready to sell. I don't have an exit strategy for this other business or anything. But I was looking online, and I came across your ad, Zion Healing Center, and it caught my eye right away because it was just the healing center that I had been envisioning. I mean, it really felt totally guided. I called you the same day that I found it, and
And
then
you heard the Twilight Zone theme song
It
in the
was so
background.
amazing.
I do believe that kind of manifest is just knowing what you want. You don't always have to know how you're going to get it, but that's how I ran into, and I talked to Cord, and we connected, and I really felt like we had the same vision and passion for, I was moved by Cord's passion to help people, and with his experience, I thought, gosh, that's the kind of person I need to team up with to do something meaningful.
Yeah, from the very first time that we met you, Jimmy, it's always been that we knew immediately that you were the perfect example of who a franchisee should be for a Zion Healing brand. You're passionate about what you talk about. You're passionate about the people that you help, and you're always trying to help somebody else. Putting them before you. You met every aspect of that. I mean, if we could find 100 Jimmys, that's exactly what we would do.
I actually picked up some strands of hair. We'll have the DNA run. We can do the cloning thing.
You could give me a couple too. I need some. I need some at my office, and
But today we're going to talk about this STAR-D study. Jimmy, you've read through it, you've studied it, you know what it is.
yeah, the largest and longest independent study ever conducted on depression.
It started in 1999, I believe, when they first started that study. It had some aspects to it that are really interesting.
Well, yeah, they studied the standard of care, right? The standard of care for depression, which is like you're going to go on meds. I mean, the standard of care when you go and you see your doctor and say, hey, I've got depression, the first thing they're going to do is either themselves put you on an antidepressant or refer you to a psychiatrist who will then put you on an antidepressant. And so what they found was that, and then if that fails, then what happens next is they either put you on a stronger, they increase the dose, or maybe they need a second combination of something else, or they switch medications. But basically you go through this series of stages, right, or phase, I don't know what they call it, but you make an attempt, we'll see you in 6 weeks, like get out of here. And then, we'll see you in 6 weeks, and then they try something else. And so you think that as they added medications or they increased the strength, that your chances of getting remission or success in treating this depression would go up. But what they found in this study is that it wasn't like they started out that well. They started out, I mean, the best result they ever got was around 27% of people.
Right.
Like, so
Wasn't it funded by the pharmaceutical companies?
I'm sure. I mean, they're kind of the only ones that.
Studies funded by?
I believe so. It was a real world setting study. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was FDA
4,000, the FDA approved it, and there were over 4,000 participants in this study.
Largest study, longest study ever. Yeah.
And specifically about the issue of depression.
Yeah.
That's what fascinated me when I read it the first time, is that here we are probably funded by big pharma to show that that the SSRI medication or the antidepressant medication really works, and it kind of backfired almost. It just kind of showed that, hey, it really kind of doesn't.
Right. Yeah, because by the second stage, so after that first one got 27% success, which was not much better than a placebo.
Meaning that only 27% of the 4,000 people actually saw a difference? Is that what you're saying?
Achieved remission, I think, was the way that it.
Remission, 27%. So 27 people out of 100. That's terrible.
That's terrible. And then so you think when they get more medication, it might improve, but it just got worse. So as the second phase, third and fourth, by the fourth one, it's down to about 6 to 7%, I think. I'm just going off my memory here, but it's like almost nothing.
Well, they did it. They did the study as a multi-step study. So they take 4,000 people and they set it up in this multi-step study. And so each step involves a different treatment option for its participant who doesn't achieve a remission or an improvement from the last one. So they did it in these steps going forward. So they'd get, like you said, they'd give him an antidepressant or an SSRI, and then as it began to fail, then they would give them another option,
Yeah.
which is true in real world setting.
Well,
You know,
Even
that is evident today.
Yeah.
You know, at one time, I know that in my own history, I was subject to that issue. You know, the VA had a good way of putting me quickly on medication for PTSD and for issues of depression, anxiety, for issues of, they put me on antipsychotics. But it seemed like it was always another option. Like the depression was always there. The anxiety was always there. The trauma was always there. The nightmares were always, everything was always real and never subsiding. So my only option that was given to me was, oh, well, we'll give you another option because that didn't improve or it didn't bring it to remission. So we'll give you another option and we'll try this drug. You know, we'll try Prozac, then we'll try this, and we'll try Seroquel, and we'll try this, and we'll do this. And by the time we get done with this study of my own, I'm on 9 medications, all failing.
Yeah. Well, and you ask your doctor, you're like, hey, this medication didn't work, and they don't know any. I mean, my doctor just told me we could try another one. That's literally what everybody hears is, well, which one would you like to try? Do you know one that we could try? I mean, you'd ask me sometimes. But yeah, but something did go up. You know, something did go up in this study with each phase. Do you remember what that was?
Was that suicide?
No, it was the amount of people that dropped out of the study due to the side effects.
The side effects, and what they would do is the participants of the study who did not achieve a remission or improvement or symptoms of their symptoms, an improvement or remission within a 12-week period, then they were offered a different option to switch to a different medication to receive a combination of or a combination of medications, and then subjected to subject steps. They were offered additional treatment options like psychotherapy and ECT or electroconvulsive therapy. Those therapies were then introduced within the study, still failing to find any kind of remission or achievement of remission or improvement in any of it, over 4,000 people. But I loved what you just said. Of those 4,000 people, they were leaving in droves in the study because of the symptoms and
So how many, when the study is completed, how many people did they actually have left? Do you know, approximately?
I don't know. I mean, there's the chart. See, I don't have the chart in front of me, but
That's
I know that the
accessible
success
online.
rate was about like between 6 and 7% by the end, by the fourth round, and these people are, you know, achieving massive side effects by that point. But I think the placebo is even better than that.
Well,
I'll
oh,
tell
for
you
sure,
one
yeah.
thing I did read in the study I think is very interesting, which is what Zion Healing does, right? I mean, in essence, we're an intensive outpatient program of psychotherapy. I mean, we kind of look at ourselves as being the vigilantes of psychotherapy. You know, we're kind of those guys that go the extra mile to help people. And one of the things that I did notice about that study was that what did improve with everybody that participated in that option was psychotherapy. So moving to a different option away from medication then became something that actually improved their condition,
Yeah.
which proves.
Well, when you
that-
say psychotherapy, what do you mean?
well, it was the psychotherapy options such as a 12-step program or
Okay, so
or
it's
an alternative
Yeah.
educational program was introduced to them as an option, and those of the 4,000 people that participated in that option instead of another medication improved.
Yeah.
Their conditions improved. Some achieved remission that way.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I think that's why, I mean, even at our clinic, it's like if we're treating somebody, we don't just send them away for 6 or 12 weeks, right? Like we're going to be seeing them every day, even though I'm not a counselor, obviously, but like I feel like at least we have to live with, you know, these clients or these students become like family to us, and we're seeing them every day. I feel like that's just so lazy to write a prescription and be like, okay, leave now.
What are you saying, that these guys are lazy? These
I
men
mean,
and women
I-
writing prescriptions?
I
Go
don't
ahead, Jimmy.
criticize any
Go on,
Doctors
go
or
out
any
on a
pharmacies, but
Come on. We're here to do that. We're here to call them on their stuff, you know, because what we really know, and the reason why we even, you know, created this podcast to chat about things is to bring up topics that people don't really want to talk about. You know, I mean, I'm personally sick to death hearing about, you know, psychotherapy, and I mean, in terms of, you know, the modern day term, you know, the psychoanalysis and the talk therapy. And I'm not saying all talk therapy is bad, and I would never say all prescription medication is bad, because I personally believe that there's a time and a place for medication. But what I personally feel, and what is backed by studies, is that we are over medicating our nation.
Absolutely.
100%. We've got
100%.
zombies running around, for Pete's sake. And then you add to it making cannabis legal in states, and people are driving high. I mean, come on. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, so I'll
No.
bring it on back. But I mean, the idea with the antidepressants, I mean, Dr. Ann Blake Tracy is a pioneer in the field of, and you probably know, you guys know this, but for those of you that don't know who Dr. Ann Blake Tracy is, she is the one who lobbied Congress, if you will, and correct me if I'm wrong, to get the black box warning on the antidepressants, to basically say, and this is paraphrased, you can look at it on your own and correct me, if you want to, and that's okay, I probably won't listen. But basically, any sudden changes in dosages, or stopping taking it, can and will cause side effects, things like suicide, homicide.
Yeah.
Dramatic.
It's proven.
Yeah,
Dramatic.
for sure. That's one of the side effects listed. Yeah, that's wild
What
that you would
the
take
heck?
something like, isn't that what we're trying to avoid? And
What
then,
are we doing?
Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break.
If you're struggling from addiction or mental illness, or you finally refuse to allow someone you love to suffer any longer, visit our website at zionhealing.com. Zion Healing will change your life. We offer free assessment, individualized treatment plans, and accept most insurance. We'll spend the time needed with you or your loved ones to help you find the treatment and answers you're looking for. Don't wait another minute. zionhealing.com, where recovery starts and addiction ends. The Promises to Freedom Show, a journey to full recovery with Cord Beatty and Kat Hart.
So, the STAR-D study that we're talking about had significant implications of treatment of depression. The study's findings that I thought was fascinating, this was a study that was challenging the notion that antidepressants are universally effective. It challenged the whole pharmaceutical.
did you guys hear about the new one? There was a new study released recently that has been popping up all over my news feeds. That's like,
Oh, do tell.
yeah. So they're saying that there was something like scientists have discovered that it might not be. I mean, by the way, you're killing your gut biome, right, with these antidepressants, which a lot of serotonin is produced in the gut, but they don't even know. They said we're not even sure if it's related to a serotonin imbalance. This whole idea. Have you seen this? Like,
I have not, but I know that Dr. Ann Blake Tracy advocates and has proven that the antidepressants, the SSRIs, actually create an overdose of serotonin, because it's the body's inability to uptake what's there. And so you're giving your body more serotonin, and it's serotonin poisoning that causes those behaviors like suicide, homicide, etc. while being
you want
on
it
the
balanced.
SSRI.
Yeah, you don't just want a ton of serotonin necessarily.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
no.
Well, this was saying like they're not even sure. So it's basically like the whole premise that antidepressants was founded on. We might have been off base on that the whole time.
Could have been, yeah, that's what they were really saying.
Gee, I
That
made
they
a
were
mistake.
challenging the notion that they were effective. One of the things that I really love about that study, though, is I read through the whole thing, is that the study highlighted a vital importance, a critical, vital importance for people with depression to seek personalized treatment plans of alternatives to the medication. And it was like it was a vital part of what their findings had found in the study, was that it was vital to their well-being and survival that they don't rely solely on an antidepressant medication, that they seek treatment, right? And it opens up the discussion then to exactly what we do, which is exactly what we do. How many guys that come to our treatment programs with chronic depression on 2, 3, 4 medications that are failing at
Or
every
more.
or more level of medications that are failing, and say, if I get in this TMS chair, is it going to get me off of these medications? And our answer has to be, we can't tell you that. That has to be between you and your doctor, when every fiber in our body is screaming, we want to tell you yes, but we can't do that.
Our
But
studies.
They would get mad at us.
but everybody would get angry, so we can't do that. So we tell them, you need to listen to your body, listen to what your body's doing and telling what your brain is telling you, and how you're feeling, and take that up with your doctor. And then it's interesting how many of these people ultimately we see them sometime down the road and say, hey, guess what? I got off all my medications.
Yeah, or this, I mean, I hear sometimes people say that my medications used to, I mean, I see this all the time. It's either they just don't work for me, they make me feel worse, or, but I had a guy that was on them for 20 years and he said they were working for me for about 18 years and then for some reason it's just not, and now I'm super depressed. And he came through and did TMS with us, and then he was able to start reducing, and he was going to go ask his doctor, but he noticed that when he was going through TMS, he said all of a sudden he was taking them and they were working again. That was the first thing he noticed. And then by the end, he thought, but sometimes he was starting to miss doses. And then he was like, oh, I don't know if I need this anymore, which, and of course I have to not say the wrong thing, but I was like, ask your doctor about it.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah.
The one thing too, I want to clarify for people that are listening that don't know what TMS is, it's transcranial magnetic stimulation. Specifically, we use a brand called Neurostar. The manufacturer is Neurostar. Neurostar, the reason we chose Neurostar is because it has the highest efficacy. It's not the cheapest unit on the market. As a matter of fact, it's quite pricey. However, price is as price does. And this is highly effective. And we're not into turning people away. We are into the high numbers of success.
Well, they have 83% response rate with Neurostar. That's
83% response rate, and they have over a 60% remission rate of the folks that are in it, which is gigantic in the medical field. I mean, 60% remission for people who are in the program is huge.
Right, compared to the STAR-D thing with like the best one being 27.
Yeah.
Well, and then the thing is too is at 83%, and I thought it was actually higher. I thought it was 86%.
I've seen different charts. The last one that I saw was 83. Yeah.
Even at 83, that's very high. But I mean, if you take 83%, let's say you stack 100 people in front of you, and this is what I thought. I was like, 83%, that's great. Oh, wait, what about the 17 people out of 100 that don't get help? And so we first brought in neurofeedback, EEG, and now the QEEG, quantitative electroencephalogram. And so the two of those combined, plus the 12-step, the comprehensive spiritual-based 12-step, as Dr. Bill Wilson and Ebby T first originally brought it about, and we've talked about that in previous podcasts. We have such a high success rate, and I do like to brag, and he's like, don't say that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. The truth is that we have 100% success rate, and I mean 100% success rate, and there's only two mandatory items that have to be in place. One is you have to show up.
Well, you have to participate. If you're going to have 100% success, that means...
Second one I was getting to, cheater.
Yeah. You got to participate.
Well, that 83%, that was with only studying TMS by itself.
And if you use the STAR-D study that we're talking about, and their insistence on the critical need for other treatment modalities, treatment plans, individualized treatment plans, which is what we've always said at Zion Healing from the very inception of the company. We kept demanding, or not demanding, but moving in a direction that we will only do things as an independent, individualized treatment plan. We will not do a group treatment plan. There's no cookie cutter, because everybody's independent and everybody's different.
Everybody's brain is so unique. I mean, looking at brain scans now for a while, I can tell you that everybody's brain is, I haven't seen the same two brains yet. I've seen a few hundred at least.
Yeah, everybody has different makeups in their DNA and their brain structure and everything. So why would we do a universal treatment program like other treatment programs do? And of course, we, in the old days, we ran inpatient treatment centers in our history. We were guilty of that too, of not being able, because of the sheer numbers of how many people were in the program, of being the victim on our side of the business, of not being able to give individualized treatment plans to these people because there were too many in the program. There's too many people. You couldn't do that. So the beauty of our program, the beauty that the Zion Healing program has, is that every single person that comes through that door is receiving an individualized treatment plan. Like they're getting some individualized treatment that starts with the first conversation, building a patient journey with them, highlighting their specific needs, which treatment modality that they would need, whether it be transcranial magnetic stimulation or neurofeedback, brain mapping, 12-step, a group in the morning, individualized one-on-one therapy, hypnotherapy, So a little bit of adventure therapy on certain days of the week, but everybody's an individual within a group program
Well,
of
and to
ours.
clarify, actually, just for like a pause moment here, we are not here to diagnose anybody. We're not here to lay out your treatment plan. We have medical professionals on staff that will do that.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
Licensed therapists
Yeah.
and we have a licensed
Medical
therapist
directors.
and a medical director who's either a psychiatrist or a
Yeah.
psychiatric nurse practitioner, and we're reliant on them to help us structure those individualized
Absolutely.
treatment
Yeah,
plans.
no, I just kind of show the data when you get the brain scans back. I mean, I'll present the data to the client that's been analyzed by neurologists, and kind of show them and try to. But there's, yeah, everyone's so unique that you need. I don't know why you would just give one pill, and then it's not like they're doing brain scans before they decide which prescription you get.
yeah, no kidding, right? Because maybe things would change a little bit, but that's kind of costly, right? Time is money, and so
Oh,
that's
yeah.
kind of they don't have the time. Doctors are overworked, psychiatrists are overworked, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of them I feel like what you just said is lazy, and so I want to call out those guys that are lazy that are just writing prescriptions and just say, knock it off.
Yeah.
You're really hurting people. And why did you get in this? What oath did you take?
Yeah, no
You know.
kidding. Yeah, I mean, not all doctors are bad because ours is great.
No,
Our psychiatrists, there's
Our
and
doctors
and
are amazing.
right,
Yeah.
the good. I mean, there's thank goodness there's psychiatrists that are still open to learning about things that are maybe not as easy as just writing off a prescription and sending somebody away.
Yeah. Jeremy, our psychiatrist, he's amazing. He is a guy that he cares. He cares about the people that he sees. He's not quick to. I haven't. He's been with us for some time now. I have yet to see him write a prescription. Yet I haven't seen a prescription pad in his hand. He has always sought the alternative. He's always
Unusual, yeah.
it's
He's a
unusual.
unicorn.
And he's like, let's go over here first and let's talk about this treatment modality first, and then we'll address that issue down the road if we don't find some significant changes, right? Those are amazing people that will do that in that profession.
Yeah, go that extra mile, get off the sofa and eating bonbons already, Come on.
Yeah. Well, you're up at your center in Murray. You are doing EEG, QEEG, brain mapping.
Yeah, it's really helpful for people, especially, I mean, and that kind of determines what type of neurofeedback training that they will get, which, neurofeedback, there's now over 1,000 studies. Dr. Amen, I was just reading some of his literature, but he's was saying there's at least 1,000 studies showing the efficacy of being able to improve neuroplasticity in the brain and actually repair the brain if it's been damaged, which we all have. Even if you haven't done drugs or alcohol, you're still brain.
Oh, of course. Well, and actually, Dr. Joe Dispenza has thousands and thousands, not just 1,000.
Probably.
Dr. Joe Dispenza is like the king
That's true.
of brain scans,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, I'm going to say to our listeners, look up Dr. Joe Dispenza. It is all science and how to change neuroplasticity literally in a nanosecond.
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking 20, 30 treatments. We're talking, in some cases, in 10 minutes.
He's done so good at bridging spirituality and science, because you were saying that the other day. You
Yeah.
can't separate those, even though everyone
No,
tries
you
to be
can't
like, wait, is
separate
this
them.
spirit or science? I was on a
No.
podcast called Spirit or Science, and I'm like, how about and? Why can't it be and or at least?
Or it's so funny. Well, it's a well-known fact that just about every, learned scholar who tried to disprove the existence of a higher power, a higher consciousness, or God, if you will, like even Einstein, right? I mean, we've had lots of people through the ages, lots of doctors. It was who was that well, no, he was an astrophysicist. And Hugo Ross. Hugo Ross actually set out to disprove the existence of God. And through the use of mathematics, he found and discovered 9 different dimensions and became a Christian. It's like bow down and worship, because the ways of God confound the wise, or the ways of, higher consciousness, whatever you want to call that, source, the infinite, whatever.
Yeah, I don't even know, because I'm not here to say like what belief is right or wrong, but I just know, I look at what works for people, like what is actually works. And I know that
Right.
some kind of spirituality, whether you call it the universe or God or
Yeah.
but
Something greater than you created you.
And we tell the students, that it's a concept that the students some of them have a hard time with, because of background, upbringing, but we tell them, it doesn't matter. Everything that we do is about changing the way that we think and getting outside of our thinking, because if we had the power to change the way that we think, we wouldn't be here. And so if you could step outside of what your vision of somebody else's interpretation is and look at your own, Buddha, Allah, Jesus Christ, Spirit of the Universe, God,
Even you can call it quantum physics if you want.
Right,
I
right.
guess.
energy, you can call it white light, you can call it anything, and everything.
It's just connecting to that higher consciousness,
Yeah.
whatever that is. It's the connection, and you know it when you feel it.
Sure. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Yes, it's heating up.
If you're struggling from addiction or mental illness, or you finally refuse to allow someone you love to suffer any longer, visit our website at zionhealing.com. Zion Healing will change your life. We offer free assessment, individualized treatment plans, and accept most insurance. We'll spend the time needed with you or your loved ones to help you find the treatment and answers you're looking for. Don't wait another minute. ZionHealing.com, where recovery starts and addiction ends. The Promises to Freedom Show, a journey to full recovery with Cord Beatty and Kat Hart.
The STAR-D study also contributed to the American Psychiatric Association incorporating from the study and the findings that they created treatment guidelines for all psychiatrists out of this. Yeah. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know.
I saw that as deep within the study that the American Psychiatric Association said, okay, we like this enough that we're going to now put.
We
out
like
some-
what? We like failure? What is that?
No, what they liked was they liked they liked the idea that there needed to be some guidelines set to how prescription writing and how things were done. And what they really found was this. They said in these findings and in the development of the treatment guidelines, we're going to recommend that if you're going to prescribe something, that you recommend a personalized treatment plan to go along with it.
Mm.
Now, I don't know if all psychiatrists are following that.
Yeah, what does
Or-
that look like? Like, I don't know
I don't
any
know.
anybody outside like our psychiatrist and yours, Jimmy, and any of the others within the Zion, healing.
But the treatment
center.
plan, according to the American Psychiatric Association's guidelines, said that the treatment plans need to be based on an individual's symptoms, their treatment history and preferences, and needs to involve some other options for them other than just this prescription that we're about to hand him.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know
Oh, that's good.
if all of the medical, I don't know. It may be another topic for another podcast when we actually have our psychiatrist or somebody else that's a psychiatrist.
Ooh, I think we should invite other ones who
But
are
I would
just
I would
drug
like to
pushers.
know that because
That'd be fun.
my own psychiatrist that I had in Salt Lake City years and years and years ago, I can tell you, he certainly didn't follow those guidelines when he handed me a prescription. It was not recommended to me by him that I seek other treatment options like an outpatient program or EEG or
Or go home, take
anything.
these drugs.
It wasn't even exercise. It isn't even like just physical exercise more effective than a prescription. I was never told that by my doctor when he was writing. Like, it's just like, how easy is that to, at least while you hand me the prescription, tell me I could try working out or something.
The study's findings have challenged the prevailing assumptions about the effectiveness of antidepressant medication. At the same time, incorporating psychotherapy and other modalities has highlighted important options for these people. And so the STAR-D study has good side and bad side to it. It has a bad side that shows the downside of it. It has a great side to it that shows that there are some specific guidelines because of it that are put in place. Whether these psychiatrists and doctors are following it or not, it does allow us to talk about it. So we're treatment center owners, and we can actually talk about this study on an intake process with somebody who's on antidepressant medication and say, you know what, dude, this isn't the only answer, right? So let's talk about this study for a minute. And here's what they found. And they found that this didn't really work that effective. It had an effectiveness when you began, and now it's kind of diminished, right? Yeah, okay. So what this study has within it is this, and let me have you read this, right? It says that you need some other options, like EEG, like IOP, like group therapy, individual therapy, whatever.
Nutrition, better
Diet,
nutrition.
something,
Yeah.
some other that we, and it also specifically says that we need to do an individualized treatment program for you in this center, and that we need to get you to participate in that. And if you do, you're going to have great success.
Well, it sounds like they just prescribed Zion Healing Center,
Yeah.
basically. I'm like, is that what you, did you read that study and is that what gave you the idea?
Pretty much, I think that's what needs to happen. I think they need a instruction on, stop drinking the Kool-Aid and go directly to Zion Healing Center.
Yeah, just write that on the prescription pad and hand it, write our address.
But that's what I love the most about it. In reading the study, when I first read it, was that this study actually promotes every single thing that we do. And so I use the STAR-D study almost in every initial intake discussion with somebody with depression. Like if they have anxiety or they have substance abuse, I don't bring it up. But if somebody comes here and they want to sit down in my office and want to talk about their depression, and my first question is going to be, how many medications are you on? 3 or 2, or maybe 1. What is that medication? I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to ask, okay, well, what's the dosage, and how much are I'm not trying to diagnose you with anything. I just want to know what's going on here, so that I know from the very beginning how I'm going to start to build this individualized treatment plan for you. I'm using the study with folks that come in here, if they have depression and anxiety, because I want them to read as third party from me. I want them to realize and to study and to read for themselves and to make conclusions for themselves that here we have a legitimate, white papered, extensive study that was done on their specific issue.
Well, the thing is knowledge is power, right? And so we're all about education. And so the more material that we can put in front of the individual, the better. Tank has something to say about that. It's like, that's right. We don't, that's right. We don't like the pharmaceutical companies. Well, that's not true. A lot of pharmaceutical companies, we're not saying they're all bad. There's there's good. I know you're joking. Just be careful.
I know. We don't want to, I want to wake up tomorrow.
That's right. Tank will protect you. No, but the bottom line is education truly is power. And we try to, we do our best. We don't try. We do our best to educate people as much as we can. The STAR-D study is a very good one. It's really good for study.
There was a lot of people don't get help. And I was just talking about this on the news up in Salt Lake, but Utah was on ABC4. There was a study by NICE-RX showing that we were the top state in the country for depression, like number 1.
Really?
Number 1. Yeah, I saw that.
No, Washington. They were pretty close. It was like Oregon, and I need to see the other thing. But there was a really disturbing amount. I don't know. We could suppose things, but like I don't know. That was the data. Number 1. It's on abc4.com. You could go look it up. And so the point is, there was a lot of people not getting help. That was another disturbing statistic in this study, was like, over half the people didn't get help, or like half the people that were severely depressed didn't. And so you wonder why. But then you look at a study like the STAR-D, and no wonder they're not going to get help. They probably tried to get help, or if they go get help, they're going to be met a lot of times with bad options.
But could it also be because of Utah being somewhat predominantly one religion, and
there's a religious component to that.
There
for
might
sure.
be
There might be
a bit of an embarrassment, maybe. Yeah, so certainly some fear and some hidden reservation about the fear of other people knowing.
We've treated a lot of folks that have been very religious and really reluctant to coming in, and it's like they kind of slither in and hide, and it's like, don't tell anybody, don't tell my family, can't do this.
It's like, and that's crazy. It's like, why? I mean, you have to. Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, first of all, that'll produce depression, just not being okay with yourself or comparing yourself to other people. It's not helpful.
I had a lady that along that line. I had a lady that brought her son to us, and her son was in a extremely bad state when he came here, and he left a free man. And she wrote an email, it was a text. She sent me a text, and the text said something about, how do you thank somebody for saving their son's life? And I texted her back, and I said, would you mind writing a review? And that's a touching story. Would you mind writing a review? And her response was, as long as I don't have to use my name, because I don't want people in my neighborhood to know
that I got healing Wow.
who I am,
Yeah.
you know. And I just went, wow, that's really strange. But that, I don't know if that's a cultural thing here or if it's the same way everywhere. But
I mean, there's been a lot of stigma, and I think I hope that's changing. I feel like it
yeah,
is. I'm seeing more people where it's starting to become okay to talk about, and it's okay to feel like it's not always your fault that something, I mean, things happen in life, and but once your brain has started to underperform, it's not like you're just stuck with that. Go get help. I mean, go get
absolutely.
help that works.
And here's the deal, guys. If you're listening to this, it's not your fault, and we need to educate our doctors. We need to educate our educators. We need to educate our clergymen and our church leaders and our neighbors, and we need to be talking about this. And they need to be educated that it's not your fault. That this is a real disease you're dealing with. It's not a moral indictment against you for seeking help
No,
and
it's
speaking up.
real, like for real chemical imbalances.
Yeah,
But just as it became imbalanced, you can also become balanced. And
yeah,
that's the cool part. We're talking about Newtonian physics. For every action, there is an opposite and opposing reaction. And so if you are very imbalanced, well, for fear of, sounding religious, praise the Lord, because, you've got the opposite extreme as well. You can be very balanced,
You're
very
not
happy.
stuck with, yeah, you're not stuck with your same
No.
brain. You can change things. That's been my biggest
Yeah.
message is you can change that. Like
you
what
can
that
change that.
And you can even change your
And
genetics. That'll
and
be a
so,
show.
if
Yeah,
you're
that's
if you're listening to what we're saying and you call one of our centers, you can call your center, you can call our center or our 800 number. If you call our 800 number, which is 833-446-3733, and
Say
one
it
of
again. That was
eight
fast.
eight three three 3733, or you go to the website zionhealing.com and you talk to one of our intake coordinators. They have specific instructions to let this individual know that we're here to help them, regardless of whether they come here or they go to a competitive business. It does not
And that's
matter.
24 hours a day,
24
7
hours a
days
day.
a week.
We have a responsibility to help them no matter where they go, right? And so don't be embarrassed about it and don't have fear over it. You just need to pick up the phone and take that first step. So the other thing I want to talk about with you, Jimmy, is some of the other things that you're doing up at your center.
Yeah. Well, we have those two treatments. We have the TMS that we already talked about. We've got a really extensive neurofeedback. I mean, our one of the mentor that's taught us a lot, and we continue our education, has been over 30 years in the business, getting massive results with all kinds of conditions besides anxiety, depression, OCD, ADD, ADHD, insomnia. Those are probably the most common things, but there's like tinnitus, headaches and all kinds of things. But this guy's great. And we just recently added a biofeedback suite to
Oh,
the
really?
neurofeedback. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So we're going to be doing heart math, if you've heard of heart
Yeah.
math,
Yeah.
and
Of course.
heart rate variability training, but all of that plugs into our software. So we're going to be able to run, we're doing a training next week on how to do trauma release with neurofeedback. And that's just a whole different program.
Now,
So
you went with the Brainmaster system, right?
yes, yeah.
And,
Brain Avatar, all of this feeds into that. So, we'll be measuring respiration rate, how many breaths per minute, along with the skin conductivity, temperature, so that, people really learn with the neurofeedback how to self-regulate, because they will learn like, wow, I mean, when they can see it on the screen, oh, when I think this thought, or when I just maybe relax my face in this certain way, everything calms down, and then they feel it. So it's, through the exercise, yeah, it uses our reward system that's how we train the brain, because we're totally wired for reward.
Oh,
what I think is cool about what you're doing up there when you talk about brain avatar and brain mapping is that it wraps back around to what we've been talking about with this when we started down the road of the study, is that you're using that to build individualized treatment plans for these folks based on what the findings are of the mapping. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's customized because everybody's brain is so unique, and then we're also we have
Do you charge for the mapping?
we charge, but I was the guy from Brainmaster. Bill yelled at me today for only charging $99 because it's only $500. He's like, everybody charges $500 for this.
Listen, I believe there's a center down in the Southern California area that's charging over $5,000 for this same mapping. So If you're charging $99 for that mapping, you
Well, that's really
are.
useful. Even if people just get the map done, I mean, we give them all the reports and everything. So it's just really useful to find out what's going on in your brain. And even that kind of understanding is like, oh, okay, I have this sort of challenge to deal with, and maybe I can figure
You
something
can
out.
see it in real time.
Yeah, yeah. And then we also have photobiomodulation, which has been really cool.
Photo what? Try that again.
Yeah, exactly. Photobiomodulation.
What is photobiomodulation?
So what this device does, it basically goes over your head. It does like 5 things. So the big picture is it reduces inflammation in the brain. They're studying it at Harvard for preventing Alzheimer's and dementia, but it also does similar to the theta therapy that we were talking about earlier today. Your brain can sync up to these certain frequencies if it receives stimulation. So we give stimulation through red and blue light therapy at either a gamma frequency or a theta protocol, which is what most people will start out at, because it goes from where your brain usually is when you're awake, which is like a high beta or beta, and then it will go down to alpha and then eventually down to theta through a 30-minute process. So it takes them and it guides the brain into this relaxed theta state.
So you're talking about actual names of brain waves, and a lot of our listeners don't really know what that is. So what Jimmy's referring to is your beta brainwave is your waking state, and that's your alertness, and that's you're in high beta when you're under stress, right? When you're in alpha, you're pretty much you're listening in class, you're absorbing, you're surrendering to the information that's coming at you. In theta, you completely surrender to the information, and that's when you're highly suggestible.
Yeah,
and then there's slower brain waves even.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
and then delta.
If you totally fall asleep, you're
Within your IOP model, right? Are these modalities kind of like what we've been talking about? These are all treatment options within your IOP model? Because you're a licensed facility for outpatient services,
right.
mental health and substance abuse in the state of Utah.
Yeah, so if a client is in our IOP, they're going to have access to all these tools.
That's so cool. Because listen, is there an IOP program in the northern end of Utah? If you're listening to this, there is no other IOP outpatient program in existence in your end of the state that does everything that Jimmy is offering.
Along with the counseling. Yeah, along with we do the group counseling, we do the psychoeducation and all those things that are also important too, but we're combining the technology with it. So we really give people a lot of tools they can use, and it's different for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's individualized, so not everybody's going to be the same. There's not one size fits all here. They have a lot of options. Everything that Jimmy's talking about is about changing the way that your brain functions and the way that you're thinking about this depression or about the substance that you're using or about the chronic anxiety that you're feeling.
Well, yeah, our brains are always able to learn and make new connections. I mean, we're doing it all the time. Yeah, a lot of times people are doing it in harmful ways, and then we can do it in ways that help. But we're always learning. I mean, really, until we're dead, they've proven now that you used to think that once your brain gets to a certain age that you just kind of are stuck with what you have. But we've learned that that's not true at all.
No, we can reverse the neuroplasticity, the pliability or the flexibility in the brain.
Until we're dead. I mean, if you're alive, you can change your brain still. We had an 85-year-old client that I thought was so brave to come in, and she was just like, "My life's not over yet. I'm changing things now," and it was super inspiring.
We've had them here too. We have older folks that come in, and I think and massive changes in
reversing the memory, reversing dementia, reversing Alzheimer's symptoms. Like we've seen it.
We had a Parkinson's patient that's near and dear to our heart that was part of our family who saw enough significant changes in his Parkinson's, chronic Parkinson's, that he was walking on his own when he was non-ambulatory coming in here. And walking and dancing with his wife in the hallway and doing laps around our building after these treatment modalities.
Yeah, we'd have to be like, "Don't you think you want to sit down and rest now?"
And we were,
No.
he's like, "I'm go. I want to do this. I want to live." And he's in his 80s, and yet he has this time, and he wants to live free from all of this. And
Yeah. So if the listeners are listening, I mean, anybody can change that, but especially most of you guys out there, if you're listening.
Yeah.
An amazing woman, and I will say that too.
Wonderful people.
Dr. Burgess is going to be talking to us about opioids being a class of drugs that are commonly prescribed to relieve pain, but they are also drugs that attach to specific receptors in the brain that are responsible for reducing the perception of pain. And opioids are effective medications that we know about, but they're also a lot of side effects. And Dr. Burgess, we're going to hear about his desire to create studies utilizing our scientific evidence-based
Yeah,
modalities
I'm excited.
to to study the side effects and of these opioids use and impact on the brain, specifically the area of the brain in the prefrontal cortex that gets shut down. And we're going to be talking about that extensively with him next week on next week's episode. So the process, somebody calls your office, what's their process? How long will it take them to get in? Because that's usually what people want to know, Jimmy. They want to know, okay, do I have to get on some waiting list, or can I just come in?
No, I mean, we still have openings. We'll make time. We do have, we're our clinic's gotten surprisingly busy, but we usually have time to fit people in. The best thing to do would just be call in, and if you have questions, we can answer them. And the consultation's free, so you don't have to do a brain map or a neurofeedback session. Most people choose to do that, but you can just come talk to us for free and see if this is for you.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Again, the address of your Murray Clinic is?
Yeah, the address is 310 East, 4500 South, Suite 650. The phone number, if you want to call, is 385-378-7100, or they can call the 800.
Call the 800 number. We'll route the call at 833-446-3733.
That number again is
833-446-3733. You can also go to the website zionhealing.com, where from that site you can find Jimmy's location in Murray, Utah, as one of the franchise locations. I can't tell you how much, Jimmy, that we've appreciated you
awesome.
for who you are.
And if our listeners, if you have any questions or comments or anything you want to share with us, please email us, because we're starting to feel like you don't love us. Like we're getting a little lonely here. No, I'm just kidding. We've got a lot of emails and we're answering them as we can for sure. But please.
You can email us at info@zionhealing.com with your specific question that will
whether
get
it's
answered.
to Jimmy or us or whatever. Yeah.
We'll
Tank.
route it to wherever it needs to go.
Tank will answer questions.
Jimmy, thank you so much for being with us
Hey,
today.
thank you for having me.
Coming up next week, we've got Dr. Boris Burgess. He's out of Jacksonville, Florida.
And of course, we went to Disney World too. I've got my Minnie Mouse sitting here, and I'm in theme, boy. I'm just rocking character here. But yeah, he's a very interesting individual, as is his wife, and behind every great man, of course, is an
amazing woman. And I will say that too.
Wonderful people.
Till we meet again, guys, stay safe, stay sober, and God bless.